What do they want? What do they care about? Who do they trust? What are they ready for? Best practices like completely implode when theory encounters humanity.
If you're not getting the results that you want from your Google Ads and your landing page copy, I've got just what you need. I'm about to go talk to a real master of the craft, somebody who really specializes in both credibility and conversion and understands how those two concepts feed off each other in both ads and landing pages. Joel Klettke is the co-founder of Case Study Buddy, a copywriting agency with a sterling reputation that was acquired last year after years of profitable business. He's helped dozens, if not hundreds of brands develop the assets that they need to appear credible and get the conversions that are going to fuel business. Today, I'm going to talk to Joel about his copywriting process, how he gets into the mind of his buyers, and what he does to make sure that his landing pages are structured well, his ads read the way that they should, and everything comes together in a way that nurtures people right through the funnel. Let's get into episode 2 of Over Budget, the God Tier Ads series that shows you how to avoid making expensive mistakes with your digital marketing career. Credibility is right at the top of our agenda, and it's also front and center for what you do. Talk to me a little bit about what credibility really means when it comes to ads, when it comes to landing pages. What does it mean for your buyers to look at you as a brand and think that you are credible?
Sam Shepler from Testimonial Hero, who acquired Case Study Buddy, this is his quote, but I think it holds true. Marketing isn't just no longer an exchange of information, but a transference of trust. And so when we think about credibility, I think that has to be at the forefront of our mind, is how can we kind of facilitate this transference of trust? How can we take the trust we've earned and the trust we've cultivated, be it from customers, be it from awards, be it from other credibility markers, and how can we communicate that in a way that is authentic, that is believable, that gets other people to believe that if they make the decisions that someone else has made before them, they can expect to get a similar result. And so when that comes into ads and landing pages, it's about knowing which levers to pull, which quotes or metrics or stories to feature, how to do that effectively, and how to position yourself as a company that can be believed in an ocean of noise, where so much can be faked and so much can be claimed. And, how do you walk your talk? How do you back up the things that you're saying? How do you let other people's voices speak for or validate your own? And I think that's the way that I've come to look at credibility as an exercise, is it's not enough to just cultivate any proof. You got to know how to choose the proof that will be helpful and then use it in an effective way.
It's really that spark of humanity that stands out, especially with more AI-generated content. People really think twice these days about, is this real? Is this legit? Or is this something that was just spun up by an LLM? You could fake entire people's identities. You could just make up customers, and you could have real photos that are nearly indistinguishable from AI. The more I speak to people who are on this side of marketing, on performance marketing, it's becoming more and more difficult to source those things. So one of the things you alluded to was knowing how to pull the right levers when it comes to credibility and finding those pieces of proof that really stand out. What's worked for you, and what are you advising people to do these days?
I think it starts, like most things, with the customer. You need to have an understanding of not only who your customers are and that kind of cardboard cutout version of a persona, but you need to really know what motivates them. Why are they making these decisions? What is their decision criteria? We all, on some level, have a mental short list of things that we're thinking about when we're trying to evaluate. Now, we're not rational thinkers. We're influenced by emotion. I think a lot of our purchasing decisions are emotional, but that doesn't mean we don't have criteria kind of mentally that we're building toward. And I think it starts there by really pressing into who is the customer, but not only who is the customer, what's on that list. Like what, as they evaluate, as they look at competitors, as they dream of their ideal future on the other end of whatever this offer is, be it simple or complex, what is it that they're really looking for, and how can we cultivate proof that speaks to that? So rather than just going and getting accolades, or just going and getting 5-star reviews, or just going and getting anything anywhere, we want to go out with intention to capture the kinds of stories, sound bites, even the types of personas that our ideal audience looks up to, right? Like, who do these people want to be on the other end, and how can we tell that? So going and starting, beginning with the end in mind and working backwards from, okay, if I could reverse engineer, if I was unethical and I was engineering the perfect soundbite with AI or whatever, what would that look like? Why would it look like that? And how can I go get that from a person? I think the other thing, is in this era, I guess maybe not even an era, I think in this new reality of increased skepticism, how can I validate and prove this out to a skeptical audience? So are there other sources of validation, things I can point to, link to, share? Does this person have, a LinkedIn profile where they're active and clearly, a normal person making decisions with a job title that can be validated? Is it part of, someone else's verification program? So be it, not that these programs or platforms are without their own issues, but be it something like Trust Radius, or be it something like Google or whatever, is there some sort of layer there? Can we bring in media that makes it, hard to refute? So can we capture video? Can we get this person on camera? Can we, what layers can we add that will help to make this believable, help to make this real? And if we're talking about, full-fledged stories, how can we include those nitty-gritty details that would just be hard to make up? The person's own voice, the person's real backstory, the person's scenario. And I think realistically, it's only going to get harder. When so much can be faked, you're going to have to work that much harder to show that the things you're putting together are real. A big part of that is, external sources, validation programs that already exist. And then again, like tuning into what do people actually need to hear, need to see? What is that mental checklist that they're trying to cross off? And how can we waste less time just throwing accolades at them and just come at them straight with, here's some stories, some takeaways, some insights that we know you're going to, find valuable or interesting.
People really need to be able to see themselves in your ad and your landing page and believe that that could be me. If I take these steps and do what these people are asking me to do, I can see myself in that position. I can see myself with that outcome. One of the things that you talk about on your website and that I love is the concept of the conversion killer. One big conversion killer that we've talked about is people not being able to see themselves, right? And not a brand not having the credibility that's required to persuade new customers to come on board. What, in your experience, what are some of the other common conversion killers that people might not be looking at or might be overlooking?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of them. I think number one is just clutter. When you try to say everything, you say nothing. When you try to make every claim, you make no claim. When everything is equal, nothing is important. And so I think now more than ever, it's really important to understand the ins and outs of things like information architecture, of how to structure an argument. Okay, if that, then this, like what needs to be said first and second and third, and how do things naturally connect? Because what I see a lot of people gravitating toward now is there's been this huge push in recent years, especially in SaaS and B2B, where it's like your headline, there's lots of proponents of this, and I'm not going to say that they're wrong, but they're like, your headline has to say what it is. Don't try to be cute. Don't try to be clever. Just say what it is. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, but when everybody is just saying, here's what it is, I mean, that's table stakes. That's, like if someone marches into your office and says, I've got the solution to your conversion issues, it's that your headline is too clever or too cute. It's like, okay, be that as it may, like that when everybody's just telling you the what, the differentiator is, well, how do you communicate the why? How do you string together an argument? How do you make your, the rest of the value as clear? So I think, clutter and trying to say too much is one part of it. Speaking over top of, and this ties right in that, but over top of your audience's awareness level, assuming they either know things they don't, or assuming they don't know things that they do. Again, if you have a more sophisticated buyer and you're wasting half of your landing page explaining basic core concepts and those things are right up top, you're wasting, that person's time. Like, we don't have the attention spans of goldfish. We're just not patient enough to wade through things that waste our time. We will pay attention, we will read, we will watch, we will click, as long as we feel that the time to value is there, as long as we feel that there's a payoff for the things that we're learning or doing or experiencing. And so when you underestimate or overestimate the sophistication of your audience, then you can waste a ton of time either restating things they already know or jumping to an endpoint that they're not quite ready for. I think another thing that ties neatly into that is a lot of calls to action still ask for a decision that the person's not ready to make. We want to leap to that sale. We want to leap to that final conversion when that person may not be in a place to take that action. I was doing a bit of an assessment for a company, a not-for-profit, where you could donate your car, donate your house, for the cause and donate the revenue from that, which in today's economy, it seems bonkers that anyone would donate a house, but there it is. But, one of the challenges was, on the house page, they had this, great kind of intro and they explained the cause and, they didn't get too much into the process. And then the call to action was donate my house. Well, that is a huge leap. I don't want to push a button and donate my house. I expect some friction. I expect, other things to happen along the way. And so when we ask too much too early of our leads, when we make an ask they're not quite ready for, it's not that you need to have this breadcrumb trail for every single thing that you do. But if you're asking them to take a giant leap, either your proof needs to be really, really good, or you need to have handheld them, up to the point that they're ready for that. And I see that being missed quite often. Those are some of the different things, but what it really comes down to a lot of the time is clarity, specificity, confidence, right? Am I clear on the offer and the value I'm going to get? Is it specific enough that I can see myself in it? And then do I have the confidence? Is there the proof to now get me over the line? And I think if you just consider those three things going through, Joanna has I think 5 or 6 or 7 different sweeps you could do with a landing page. But if I had to pick 3, those would be the 3 that I focused on.
You almost want to disqualify a whole group of people right off the bat and just make sure that they're not wasting their time. You're not wasting your time. If your advertising service that is for heated pools, for example, you want to be super clear about that. You don't want somebody from Texas coming in as a lead in the middle of July for a heated pool, and then find out when they speak to you on the phone that, oh, I didn't realize it was a heated pool. And now you've wasted your time, their time, when you could have been nurturing somebody who was further up north who might actually need that.
The unintentional thing that happens a lot too is companies are so, and we would see this, they want to share their biggest logos and best wins. And as a result, you have a whole bunch of companies that serve primarily small businesses to mid-sized businesses sharing these enterprise logos because they just so happen to have one client there. Look, this is a big trust builder. It's well, actually, part of what you're doing, you think that you're building that confidence, but you may actually be undermining it. You may be going, oh yeah, well, if we've served, it's just always buried in my brain as an enterprise example. If you've got a big HubSpot case study, but 99% of the leads you want are mom and pops, what you're actually communicating is that you're serving a completely different tier than you are. The proof you display is the clients you attract typically, right? So there's layers to it, but I think at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is, are we making a clear, specific statement of value, and does the person have the confidence that someone like them can benefit and will come out the other side better off?
Hello, PPC professional or agency owner or in-house marketer, person doing Google Ads. Good news, writing competitor crushing ad copy just got easier. It actually got fully automated inside the 23 pillars of ad copy, which is a God-tier ads product. It's $23 because it's 23 pillars. You can get it for $5 by following the link. Why should you do that? Because it shows you the 23 pillars, before and after real-world case studies of ad copy in the wild, why one's bad, one's good, better, and what you can do about it to increase your own performance of your Google Ads accounts. I'm a professional, and this is a sales pitch. So please click the call to action. There's a link somewhere around here. Oh yes, it's got a ChatGPT prompt, so you can fully automate the ad writing process. In fact, it's better than that. It's got a ad writing copy prompt that automatically improves itself. There's a improvement agent, so every time you run it, it improves the prompt. So I give you the starting prompt, you run the script, and it improves the output over time. All of this for like $5. It's kind of ridiculous. And I also forgot about the RSA template. So there's a responsive search ad template inside as well. So yeah, $5. See what good, bad ad copy is. See all the elements. Learn that. Get AI to do the job for you. Paste into your Google Ads account. Win.
Yeah, I'm going to lash on to what you said about layers, right? Because this is really good in terms of setting the background and the context. But let's drill it down into somebody who's watching this and says, all right, I'm going to try to actually create a landing page that has the credibility factor and can build the conversions. What does your process typically look like? Or what advice would you give to somebody who's doing this for the first time or hasn't had great results? How would you go about building, wireframing, architecting a landing page that looks powerful and sounds powerful?
I think before you start bashing a keyboard doing anything, I think best in writing, and before you turn to AI or anything, get a piece of paper, get a pen, and answer these questions for yourself. Who am I trying to reach? What do they want? What do they care about? Who do they trust? What are they ready for? Even if you answer those questions incorrectly, at least you have an informed hypothesis. At least you can go back later and go, okay, I wrote this with these assumptions, but now I'm learning that this part of it was wrong. Here's how I change it. But what happens too often is people think they know. They're like, I know my offer. I know my audience. It's just a matter of putting the best words down. It's, like, I got the best words. Like, no, that's not the thing. Your job is not actually to be eloquent. Your job is not to be, a genius writer. Your job is to be an effective communicator. The best copy on the planet is great, not because it's so, out there, but because it so intentionally and effectively taps into the things that you know about your customers. It really taps into those truths. And so before you start writing anything, zoom out and just answer those questions for yourself. When it comes to then writing, the next thing that, I tend to do is starting through the lens of what do they already know. I go through, okay, what do they need to hear first? And if they believe that, then what do they need to hear? And if they believe that, then what do they need to hear? I will literally structure it up like a conversation I was having across the table from someone, where it's like, if I was to tell them this out loud, what question might I get back? What concern might I hear from them? And I try to preempt that and fill the gap with copy. I was just working on a landing page yesterday for an app that, what they do is that for people who like resell their clothes on places like Poshmark and Depop and that kind of thing, the huge pain point, what we know about them is that listing takes forever because these people have to dig up all the details. Sometimes these products are no longer on company sites. They have to go find all this information. They have to go snap photos. Here's what we know. That's a pain in the ass and it takes forever and they don't want to do that. Okay. If I know that that's the pain, then my opening statement is probably something, one of the things I propose is like go from closet to cash in a click or something like that. Okay, if that's my clever headline, then that sub-headline, if I was to say, hey, did you know you can go from closet to cash in a click? What are they going to ask me? Like, how? Okay, well, X app automatically scans your inbox and turns your old receipts into detailed listings, boosts them automatically, and doesn't take a cut. And if they go that, if they're like, okay, that sounds interesting, what's the next thing they're probably interested in hearing? Well, tell me how. Okay, great. Well, here's how it works. Okay, and if they know how it works, they're like, well, is it safe? Can I trust that this, can I trust you with access? Yeah, actually, here's a whole bunch of proof from people who've done it and gotten the result and can speak to that. Okay, if I believe that, I'm interested now. Now I need some of the finer details, like, well, what brands can you support and that kind of thing. So I will structure it up as a conversation where I'm prioritizing the big questions and I'm almost treating it like a call and response. If I say this, what would they ask next? If they believe that, what would they need to hear next? And so if you can kind of model out that dialogue for yourself, even if you're an amateur, total amateur writer, think about it as if you're having a sales conversation and just write out the waypoints. If I said this, they probably ask that. If I said this, they probably ask that. Write it that way as a version 1 and then go from there, right? That's probably the simplest framework. There's all kinds of different, you can go through all of the different frameworks and models and, ADA and all of that. But if you're not a professional copywriter, if you're just trying to even evaluate your own pages, treat it like a conversation. Be like, if I said that out loud, what would someone ask me? And if the next line doesn't answer that, fix that.
One of my favorite things about working in marketing, and particularly with copywriting, is how so many different parts of the revenue process or the pre-sales process, there's so many similarities that these underlying principles translate beautifully across, right? If you and I were sales reps, we would be calling this addressing objections, or we would give it some other name, but it's essentially the same thing. You want to preempt somebody saying no who could be a good fit for a yes. When it comes down to it, I think people latch onto these other things like, oh, I've got to have my call to action in the first fold, I've got to have my reviews, and they kind of forget or even neglect that this is a sales process and you're selling one to many instead of one to one, but you're still trying to make the sale or get people to take the next step to the point of sale. And if you lose them in there, I mean, it's basically the same thing as showing up to a discovery call, knowing nothing about them, not having any of the information that they're looking for, not being able to answer their questions. So it's pretty much the same thing, but I love how you've taken that sales approach, or the replicating the sales conversation and building it into your process of wireframing. And that's a really good approach.
Think about it this way too, like the best salespeople on the planet, they have a script, sure. Some of them may have a script. When I go into a company to help, I love looking at, do they have recordings of sales calls, effective ones and ones that didn't actually go so well? Do they have some email exchanges where I can see, these things? Because copywriting is salesmanship in print. We want to take everything that's working in those sales conversations and mirror it. Why would I guess? Why would I start from zero?
If you've got those sales calls, if you've got those reviews and you're going through that, you can literally just take people's words and use them in your copywriting. And it will make them feel like, yeah, I speak your language. I understand what you're going through. I don't just get what you're going through, but I understand the little nuances of how you feel about it, why you choose certain words to express yourself when you're talking about this. And that has been a win for me throughout my career. Just taking people's words and using them as is throughout the page. And it works so beautifully. Why reinvent the wheel?
I was jumping straight to the simplest thing, which is to answer those questions for yourself. But part of the way to refine that is take that and talk to sales. Say, here's what I think. Is this what you're seeing? When you hear an objection, what are you saying? What's working? What's not? These people are in the guts of it every day. If you don't have a sales team, think back to your own, conversations. But that's really what we're doing here is we're not flinging words onto a page. It's kind of like if you think about making a decision like a Mario level. This is maybe a weird analogy, but if you've ever watched speedrunners or people really effective, they know when to push the buttons, they know where they're going. There's a start point, a defined end point, and they navigate all the obstacles in between. Well, if you've never played that game, why would you not go, watch a pro? Why would you jump down the, miss the jump or go the wrong direction or whatever? What we're really trying to do is navigate from start to finish. We're navigating this mental model, this way people make decisions. And the more we understand that from the outset, the less we're going to feel like, well, do I follow this template or that template? Do I need to have this above the fold or that above the fold? It becomes more about how can I take everything that's working in real conversations? How can I take my understanding of the customer and put that into a page that works, or put that into a sales letter or an email that works? And I think to close off this thought, this is also why I think the new breed of copywriters, if they work explicitly with AI and don't spend any time elsewhere on the craft, why they're not going to have repeatable success, because you're jumping to access knowledge. Maybe it's going to give you some lines that sound really good. You're missing that earned knowledge piece where you understand why that's going to work. And you can take what worked on a landing page and adapt it to an email or whatever. If you don't understand, if you're just flinging words down, if it might work. It might work. It's not going to be replicable. It's not going to be transferable. You know, like I'm working on a project too for myself that talks about, you know, like mental fitness and emotional regulation and stuff for dads specifically. And just even think about the receptiveness to these two messages. First of all, anger management for dads, or stop yelling at your kids, right? Which one of those things is going to have a magnetic pull and which one is going to repel people? Nobody thinks they need anger management. We've turned that into a meme, right? Every dad who has trouble with their emotions wants to stop yelling at their kids. When you understand those nuanced things, when you can look at it through a more informed lens, you know, then that's power. That's how you write effectively. That's how you communicate effectively. When you're just taking the what and trying to, again, like write around that, and you're not really understanding who you're talking to, how they think, what motivates them, what they respond to, what they don't, like that is why the work of writing still is very hard to jump to an end point. I love AI. I love the tools. I use them to iterate and spar and all of that. But the worst versions of the things that I see, it's clear the person wanted to leap from square one to square 10. And to be effective at this, you have to get close to it. You have to kind of look closely and close up.
It's almost like getting out of your skin as the copywriter and trying to occupy the mind of whoever it is that you're trying to sell to.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, you have to be a good chameleon, and it's why every, you know, really great writer that I know, respect, admire, really try to, shed their own skin and step into someone else, see through that perspective. And, you know, someone I admire, Brian Kurtz, like, he talks a lot about how effective that can be when you really can occupy that world and occupy that space and think about those uncommon threads that you can pull. And it's not going to come just by willing it into being. There's some observing, there's some discussion, there's some trying to live in that world for a time. And I think that's what's fun about, you know, copywriting and conversion is you get to see very different sides of people and very different worlds, and how all these supposed golden, you know, best practices like completely implode when theory encounters humanity.